All right, what is going on, everybody? Good evening. Good evening. Hope everybody's enjoying their Sunday night. A couple games in a row here. So Lakers obviously had a game last night. Got a game tonight against the Sacramento Kings. They win both of these games. Warriors yesterday, Kings tonight, 128 to 104, the final score. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you very much for being here. Not going to be the most memorable game in Lakers history. Probably not the last couple of games because some of the competition. But the Lakers are honestly, they got to just get wins. So, however the hell they can get them, however they could try to kind of get back on track, however they could build any momentum, you take it. I'm not going to sit here and last night's game was really no different. Lakers won last night. No one was walking away from that game saying, watch out in the Western Conference, watch out for the Lakers. But it's a team that's been struggling. It's a team that clearly has not been playing well. And at this point, they got to just do everything they can to get some wins. So Lakers are able to do so. Let me kind of set up what we're going to do for the evening tonight. Probably maybe don't go, crazy long today. We'll have the show in the morning as well tomorrow. So we'll definitely have some more angles, but let me just give everyone a quick rundown of what we'll do for the post game show tonight. I'll get into the details of the game. I do like the way the Lakers are moving the ball. I do like that there's a little bit more balance between some of the players. You're not just so dependent on Luka as you usually are. And then I think we'll also spend some time being realistic here. What are these last two wins? What do they really mean? At the end of the day, what I think most Laker fans are going to want to see, what most of the league and what the NBA is going to want to see, they're going to want to see you beat some good teams, get a couple of good wins on the road, get a couple of good wins at home, and try to at least prove that you can be a team that beats teams that are above 500 or that you feel like you might have a chance to face in the playoffs, which, by the way, the rest of the way, Lakers are going to have some tough games. They're kind of getting rid of a lot of the bad games here in this next week or so. Not that they're not going to have easy matchups later on, but I mean, think about this. They played Phoenix. They obviously failed that one, but that was without Devin Booker and that was without Dillon Brooks. They had the Warriors yesterday without Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Kristaps Porzingis. Go down the list, all the different players that were missing for the Warriors. The Kings, I don't have to tell you about what their goal is. Their goal is to lose as many games as possible, and they're executing brilliantly. If you're a Kings fan, let me just say, the Kings they're losing the right way. If you're going to go down, this is the way you want to go down. Then they got the Pelicans coming up on Tuesday. So they got games here. And then they got a game coming up against the Pacers, I think maybe over the weekend, something like that. I know they got the Pacers in between that Denver game. So go ahead and do your damage right now. It's not going to be obviously the end of the world. This is not all of a sudden the Lakers are a good team. But just go ahead and stack these wins. You're still sixth place in the Western Conference, but you're still close to a lot of these teams. I mean, Denver just continues to fall. You got a big game against them on Thursday. So, like I said, take the win. It's a team that right now, it doesn't matter who they play. They need the wins and they need some momentum. They were able to do so. If you guys don't mind, do me a quick favor here. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll greatly appreciate that. And I'll get to everybody's comments here in just a second. But let me kind of just give my analysis of the game first, and then I'll start looking at some of the comments. So the actual game part of it. Here's the one thing I kind of liked in this game specifically. You had Luka do his thing with 28, 9, and 5. And Luka was, for the most part, very efficient. Hitting some threes, hitting some tough shots. The guy falls on the ground, takes one dribble, and takes a 23-foot fadeaway. You had LeBron very efficient from the field as well, 8 of 15, 24 points, 5 assists for him. So both of those players kind of drove the Lakers tonight. But what I liked seeing over these last couple of games, at least you feel like there's other players playing. At least it feels like the vibe is just a little bit better than what it's been. Just think about the storylines behind the Lakers over these last 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever you want to say. Since the All-Star break, every single story, every time you turn on the TV and you're watching some type of sports or you're listening to, I'll use this channel as a great example. It's not like I'm out there having a lot of positive things to say about the Lakers. So I think for them right now, just to kind of see them smiling a little bit, toying around with their opponents. Well, their opponents suck. That's the main reason why they're able to toy around with their opponents. But for them to be able to do that and to see players contributing, and whether that's Luke Kennard doing it again. We'll get into Luke Kennard in a second here, because I still want to continue kind of talking about what he's been able to do. But whether it's Luke Kennard or it's Rui Hachimura or it's Maxi Kleba getting some minutes tonight, Ayton had 12 and 4. Not that that's anything impressive, but I'm gonna mention the guy not in a negative light for the first time in a while. Um, Guys were excited. They're enjoying themselves. Obviously, these are easy W's. You could stand up because you're rooting for Bronny. You're stand up because you're rooting for Adu Thero getting a nice dunk. Whatever the case is, I think for the Lakers, they just needed something different. They needed a change of pace. And like I mentioned, second of a back-to-back, they clearly had to try to figure out how to not just win these two games, but play very low minutes. I was listening to JJ Redick in the postgame. He was talking about how to have these two games, they got to stretch here. I don't know how many games. I know March might be the most games they play in the entire month in a span of 30 days. But he was saying something to the extent of to have two games back to back, and neither game you have to play your guys extended minutes or 30 minutes. That's a plus for the Lakers. That's not always happening. There really isn't a crazy amount to talk about individually with some of these individual players, but I did think it was a team effort. They shot 50% from the field. They shot 46% from the 3-point line. So obviously those are two phenomenal stats. Not good on the glass, but like I said, their 3-point shooting was great. Only 10 turnovers for them. Sacramento had 20. I think the last game Sacramento played, they only had 5 turnovers. They had 20 turnovers tonight. Lakers, just half of that. They had 10. And then led basically the entire game, had a 30-point lead. This is what you're supposed to do against teams like the Sacramento Kings. These games are supposed to be a breeze. You're supposed to sit your guys towards the end, and you're supposed to kind of start looking forward as you look at the rest of your schedule. You're paying attention to what other games that you have. You're not supposed to play these tough matchups, and it's not supposed to be like that. That's not what the Lakers – in games like this, you just got to take advantage of your schedule, and they did. So this is the amount of games. Yeah, that's what JJ was talking about. So this week alone, they go Tuesday. Let's see here. They just played Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. So they got 4 games in 5 nights, or 4 games in 6 nights. They just had a back-to-back. So, I mean, it's going to be crammed into March. And there's going to be some good games this month as well, which is also going to be fun to watch, because we're obviously going to have a much better idea of who the Lakers are going to be by the time we get to the start of it. Maybe we already know. I think the only thing right now, the biggest thing with the Lakers right now is the biggest question mark, or the biggest surprise could be maybe they start figuring some stuff out in March. Maybe they start winning some of these games. Maybe individual players play a little bit better. Maybe this final stretch, they actually play some of their best basketball. I'm not going to have blind faith. I got to see it to believe it. So I will preface by saying that. But still, obviously, some basketball left. And we'll see if the Lakers are able to take some of this momentum. They'll handle business against the Pelicans, or at least they should, coming up on Tuesday. What are Pelicans? Well, we'll get into the Pelicans a little bit later. But they should handle business there. And then after that, you're going to start having some tough matchups. All right. Let's take a look at some of the comments, see what some of the listeners have to say here, and go from there. They beat a trash team. They were expected to win this game. It's a good win, but not one to celebrate, in my opinion. They need to be able to beat good teams that are above 500. Okay, let's stay with this. It's a good comment. I think it's very fair. I'd actually go a little bit further. The part that you said it's a good win, I wouldn't even say that. I would just say it's a win. That's it. I wouldn't give it any more credit than that. They need these wins, but yes, I agree with you on that. I said this yesterday. Last night when they beat the Warriors, it was like walking into work on a Tuesday, giving it kind of the bare minimum. You'll never remember that day of work again, and then it's gone. And then you're just like, all right, it's been 8 hours. I'm going to get the hell out of here. I'm going to go home. That's what these last couple of days are. They're not memorable. No one's going to look back and say, do you remember that day when you came into work on a Tuesday and worked 8 hours? No, I don't, because that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. The Lakers last night and tonight, they just did their job. Not a good win, nothing special, not anything anybody's going to remember, but in a 365 calendar, every single day, in X amount of days that you go to work, you're going to have days like that where it's not impressive, nothing special happened, but can you at least just kind of walk away and say, yeah, today I wasn't a good day, wasn't a bad day. I just came to work. And I think that's almost how you have to describe the Lakers, just because these teams aren't playing for anything. I mean, the Sacramento Kings got so many players that are out for the season. Their complete focus right now is in a draft class where everybody's talking about there's so many good, or there's a handful, probably four. The first four picks are going to be huge for anybody that's in this lottery. That's all the Sacramento Kings care about. That's all the Indiana Pacers care about. That's all the Pelicans care. That's all a lot of these teams care about at this point of the season. All right, let's get some more here. Let's see. Okay, Al, stupid question. First off, there's no stupid question. You're good. You're good. You're fine. Still new to NBA. Will Lakers ever have the opportunity to sign Wemby or a player of his caliber? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, hell, they could trade for Giannis this summer. That's not crazy. It can happen. The Wemby piece of it, that seems like a guy, anything can happen, right? You thought Luka was going to spend his entire career in Dallas, and then he ended up being a Los Angeles Laker. But Wemby does seem like a guy that I wouldn't be shocked is 15 years with the San Antonio Spurs. We'll see what happens. Obviously, he's incredibly young. But yes, the Lakers will have their opportunities, and they might have an opportunity this summer for something like that to happen. They beat a trash team. They were expected to win, but good win. Oh, that's right. I read this one a little bit earlier. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let's see. Just give the ball to Westbrook. Damn, it's kind of crazy. I was watching Westbrook. I'm like, good Lord. Obviously, I don't forget that he's still with the Sacramento Kings, but it seems so long ago when he was a Laker. How many teams has Russell Westbrook played for now? Let me count this out here. Now I'm interested. Russ had 14 tonight, 1 of 7 from the three-point line. The man's still firing away threes like he's Luke Kennard. Probably should stop throwing up those threes. Let me see here. I'm gonna take a look at, see if I can get his actual. All right, the Thunder, the Rockets, the Wizards, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nuggets, and the Sacramento Kings. This is his 7th team since he left the Thunder in 2018, 2019. He's played for 6 different teams in 6 years. One of his longer stints was actually with the Lakers. So, look, guy's a Hall of Famer. He's had a phenomenal career, but damn, Russ still out there trying to make it happen. Not exactly happening anymore. All right, let's see what we have here. Out rebounded by 15. Ayton with only 4 boards. Boardman gets pats. I'm not even really sure what you're trying to say there. Yeah, listen, the Ayton thing, I'd like to sit here and try to tell everybody that this, obviously this, that the Ayton experience is going to get better, but it's hard to believe that, and Deandre Ayton has got, since he came out with his Clint Capella quote, which was idiotic and stupid, and we've talked about that. A lot of people are all over DeAndre Ayton. Now, I've probably been all over him earlier than that. And, we're watching Lakers basketball on a night in, night out basis. There were some expectations that you had for DeAndre Ayton, and he certainly hasn't been able to keep any of those expectations. But these last couple of months, I just go back to it. Every time I kind of hear this, there's this, I don't even know if it's like really talked about, but there's this expectation of, well, if you want me to do this for you, then you got to do this for me. Ayton, you're not that good to be asking anything from anybody. There's certain players. If Luka wants something, you listen. If Reaves wants something, you're listening. If Marcus Smart wants something because he's a veteran, he's been in the NBA, you respect his opinion, all that stuff. If you're DeAndre Ayton, no one's going to listen. You got to earn that. And you certainly got to earn it with the Lakers. It's not like Ayton's been a whole bum his entire career. But with the Lakers, this has not been the player that you were hoping for, certainly with the Lakers. All right, we got to light the beam. They still doing that? Tell me they're not still doing that. Tell me they're not. Tell me they're not still lighting the beam out there. I can't remember the Lakers. I can't remember the last time the Lakers routed their opponents back. You know what? That's actually a good point. If I'm being honest with you here, for those who are kind of paying attention to that, let's just say, okay, it's not a big deal. Lakers handling business against the Warriors and handling business against Sacramento Kings. I agree that it's not a big deal. But I think there is some truth to this. When is the last time the Lakers in back-to-back nights actually handled business and were impressive in that department? That never happens. And basically both games, I think yesterday, if I'm right on this, first bucket last night's game, Warriors scored. First bucket tonight, Sacramento scored. And the next thing you saw, Lakers are up 10-2 in both of these games. And it was a wrap. I mean, they're up basically 30 in both of these games. That's not common for the Lakers. So Lakers always kind of find ways to make things more interesting than they need to. These last couple of games, if you look at it from that perspective, I'll give them credit for that. I'll give them credit for this. Not that they won 2 games they're supposed to win, but they blew out 2 teams that they're supposed to blow out. The Lakers don't exactly always follow that criteria and follow that mix. I'll give them credit for that. No worries here. Somebody pointing out most rebounds, because I think we were talking about 8, and Jake LaRavia, most rebounds on the team with 7 rebounds. That's kind of his game. He struggles. Honestly, he's been struggling on the offensive side, but he it definitely has kind of found a way to be one of those hustle players that does all the small things. Sacramento is the definition of tanking. I will tell you this, and I know a lot of people talk about this, and this is these are perfect kind of the conversation about tanking, and everybody's all of a sudden everybody's upset at the NBA for tanking, and they don't like the rules and everything else. I'm not mad at the teams. I'm not. I've said this before. It's the NBA's responsibility to not incentivize teams for losing. And right now, the structure of the NBA, they're incentivized to lose. So if there's obviously based on the structure, I don't mind what Sacramento's doing. Matt Ishbia came out, the owner of the Phoenix Suns, basically said you're a loser if you're tanking. Brother, the Thunder tanked, the Spurs tanked. I mean, there's franchises out there that are going to be good for years to come. And part of their strategy was, well, we're just not going to win games so that we could get higher draft picks, because that's the way the NBA is structured. So if I'm Sacramento, I kind of get what here's the problem with Sacramento. They're not a good organization. They don't have good ownership. So even if they have good players, they're not going to know what to do with them. That's the difference. San Antonio and OKC, obviously these are franchises that know what they're doing. So it's completely different. It's completely different. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got here. All right, let's keep moving here. In-game tourney for the tank teams. Not bad idea. Listen, I'm all good for this. Like I said, I'm good for different ideas, but the current structure that they have, I understand why teams are doing it. All right, a lot of people also want to talk about AR. Listen, I've said this before, and this has kind of been the little bit of a conversation. We could have it today, and then we'll kind of expand on it a little bit further tomorrow. AR, not a impressive, not too impressive of a night for him as well tonight. I don't think he did anything special, and I see a lot of these comments hitting on AR. But we could do this right now. We could talk a little bit Austin Reaves. If you got some thoughts about Austin Reaves, not just in this game, but these last handful of games, feel free to put them in the comments now, and then we could have a quick little Austin Reaves conversation. Before I do so, let's give a shout out to one of our partners here. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. You guys know the drill here. If hopefully nobody ever needs him, but if you guys need an injury attorney, he's the best in the business. He can represent anybody in the state of California. It's really, really nice seeing Brad. I got a chance to go out to their offices on Friday, did my show from there, and spent a little bit of time with him. What's so cool about being with him is he genuinely supports the channel. He's a big Laker fan, loves obviously what we're doing here, and I love using this platform to promote his business. If you need an injury attorney, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you go to that website, get an absolutely free consultation. Again, the website, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. 100% free consultation, and see if he could point you in the right direction. So a lot of times people don't really know what to do. It's a daunting, intimidating process. Go at least to the website, get in touch with him and his team, and they'll guide you. Whether they can help you or they can't, they'll point you in the right direction. All right, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Shout out to another one of our partners here. Okay, Austin Reaves here real quick. So Reaves, tonight, 12 points, 3 of 9 from the field, 2 of 6 from the 3-point line, 5 assists. I feel like his assists continue to come down. If I look at Reaves' last handful of games, let's see here. Last night, 18 points, 3 assists. Game against the Phoenix Suns, just 14 points. The game against Orlando, 18 points, 3 assists. And then the game against Boston, 15 points and 2 assists. He's struggling. He doesn't look comfortable. The thing that I would say is, listen, there's certain players that let me give you guys an example here. I know that Luka Doncic is not a great defensive player, but he's brilliant on offense. Brilliant, as good as it gets. Take the ball to the basket, draw fouls, post your ass up, hit threes. I mean, everything get you 12 assists a game if he needs to. He'll grab boards. He's as good as it gets. It's very important that he's so good on offense that, yes, he's got liabilities on the defensive side, but he's so good on offense that he's a top 5 player in the league. Reaves, if you're not great on offense or a perfect complement to what Luka's doing or what the team is doing, I mean, you're already not going to be known as a good defender. You're going to try on defense, but you're not a good defender. Your offense has got to obviously, it's got to justify the 35 minutes a game. And I'm not making a case here take Austin Reaves or 30 minutes a game. I'm not saying take him out of a game or anything like that. But what I'm telling you is that he has struggled. He hasn't looked good. I mean, really, since he came back from his injury, I think he's had moments, but nothing sustainable. And the problem with that is when you do go up against good teams like you did with Boston, or maybe if you want to point out the Orlando game, Magic's not a trash team. They got some good talent, but they also got injured players as well. They were missing Franz Wagner. They were missing Jalen Suggs. The Lakers need more out of Austin Reaves. Forget the summer. Forget how much you're going to give him. Forget all that stuff. Let's just pay attention to right now, and let's just pay attention to this season. He hasn't been that good these handful of games. The biggest thing to me that is disappointing in Reaves' game, don't get me wrong, you need more from him, obviously, offensively. And he's had some weird games where his efficiency has been down as well. A game where he shot 37.5% from the field, 33% from the field, 40% from the field. So his shot he also hasn't been all that efficient. But the area of his game that I think has been the most disappointing for me, and I understand this is the Luka part, but almost nothing on the assists. He used to be a guy earlier in the season where not only was he getting you buckets, not only was he getting to the free throw line, not only was he doing a little bit of everything, facilitator role for him, I thought was most impressive early on. That hasn't been the case. I get it. Luka's got the ball a lot in his hands, and he's got to now, when he does have the ball, be the best version of himself when he does have the ball. But it's been quiet for Reaves. That part's a little bit concerning. I'll be honest with you. That part's a little bit concerning. They got to have as good as they possibly can have in regards to Austin Reaves when they're playing good opponents. So that's going to be the big thing. The big thing for me is, hey, he can have some games right now where he hasn't looked all good, but if they're going to try to maximize the rest of the season, get out of that first round, AR's got to be a real player. So that part, obviously, I think we could all agree with. whether you love AR's game, you don't love AR's game, whether you think AR should be here long term, whether you don't, for this season, if they're going to make any noise, they're going to need a much better version of Austin Reaves the rest of the way. Okay, let's look at some of the comments here. I'm sure people will give me their thoughts, their opinion on this. Let's see here. Are we setting high expectations for AR that is feasible for him to achieve? I think he kind of kept raising the bar based on his play. Like, if I told you, what's my bar for Austin Reaves? He can't be scoring under 20 points a game. He can't. That's kind of, look at the bar that he set for himself. Preferably, you got to be in that 5 to 7 assist range a night. I don't think that's asking for too much. So I guess the question is, it depends what bar people are setting for him. But didn't he kind of set the bar himself? I think AR set that bar for himself. AR can be the playmaker for the second unit. If you had to ask me, is he better off in the starting lineup or coming off the bench? And there's no politics or any of that stuff. I would say he's better coming off the bench for the Lakers. I would, because he's still going to get his 30 minutes, but he could be a little bit more of that. He could be a little bit more of that playmaker. It kind of balances the backcourt a little bit. It balances your offense and your defense. I don't disagree with that. I have no issue with that. I just don't think it's going to happen. AR and the team was playing better when he was coming off the bench. Yes, AR needs to run in that second unit. I'm not worried about AR. All right, everybody's kind of giving their thoughts here. Let's see what else we have here. See, why are you talking about AR coming off the bench? It's not happening. Here's why. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you because we're trying to have the conversation about what's the best way to use AR. And there's also comments on here that are also bringing up AR coming off the bench. I agree that every time I prefaced by saying I don't think it's going to happen, but it doesn't mean if I don't think it's not a good idea, or if I think it's a good idea, that I'm not going to mention it. I got to mention it. If I think that could be a solution for the Lakers, then we got to talk about it, whether we think it's going to happen or it's not. AR needs to stay healthy. That part I agree with. Reaves already in playoff mode, 15 points, 4 assists. It's funny with AR. He's a very polarizing player on this Lakers team, and I think a polarizing individual amongst Laker fans. Look at these two comments here, okay? AR, I'm going to read you 3 comments in a row. AR got a sacrifice. AR will be fine, chill. Reaves already in playoff mode, 15 points, 4 assists. Everybody's everywhere on AR. Everybody's everywhere. All right, good stuff there on the AR piece. Listen, he's going to be a conversation. They need him to be great. They do. If they're just going to win one round in the playoffs, they need him to be great. That's how important it's going to be for Austin Reaves' role with the Lakers. If they just want to win one round, Austin Reaves is going to have to be great. Not just him. I mean, of course, Luka, LeBron, Ayton's going to have some impact. Marcus Smart, Rui, the bench. Luke Kennard will have to keep doing what he's doing. But if they're just going to win one round, AR, I think, is going to have to be a big piece of it. Okay, here's what we got coming up here. Next game for the Lakers. All right, let me see what we got here. Next game for the Lakers. Let me find this banner. So here's what they got. Next game, Tuesday night, 7:30, Pelicans at Lakers. You guys know I love 7:30 tip-offs. Love 7:30 tip-offs. I want every post-game show to start at 2 a.m. in the morning. Huge fan of the late tip-offs. Next game the Lakers got coming is Pelicans. We got to look at this together because if I'm being honest with you, Pelicans have been so irrelevant so far this year. I do not know. I know they lost today. They lost to the Clippers. All right, they were winning some games here. That's kind of interesting. Who were they playing? Trash teams. Beat the Sixers, the Warriors, and the Jazz twice, and then lost to the Clippers. Let's see who's actually playing for them, who's available, who's not. The only thing I know about the Pelicans is the Lakers felt like they were trying to trade for half of their squad. All right, who went tonight? Herb Jones. Jones went. Trey Murphy the third. DeJounte Murray is back. Sadiq Bey, a nice player. So they got a couple talented players that are here. Injuries wise, let's see what some of their injuries are as we get closer to Tuesday. Zion ruled out for Sunday's game against the Clippers. Maybe that means he plays on Tuesday when the Lakers, you got an ankle issue when they take on the Lakers. Maybe the game against the Pelicans will be a little bit more competitive because they have some, decent players that are still available. A lot of these other games, watching the game tonight, for an example, against Sacramento, nobody played. Golden State on yesterday, basically nobody played. The game on Thursday against the Phoenix Suns, they're missing a lot of key pieces there. And obviously Phoenix ended up getting the win on the Lakers. I think New Orleans will probably put up a bigger fight than some of these other teams that the Lakers have been playing here recently, or at least playing these last couple of days. I don't want to go through the scores here real quick, but I'm just going to give you a heads up. So Minnesota won at Denver. I think that was a road game for them. And what it did in the standings, we can look at this together. We'll look at this real quick. And we'll take a look at some more comments here as well. This is what that win did for Denver today. So for Minnesota. So here's what it is. Houston 37-22, Minnesota 36-23, Denver's at 37-24, Lakers 36-24. So Phoenix kind of still in the mix as well. Obviously, they had that win against the Lakers. What is everybody in their last 10? So San Antonio lost to the Knicks. So Minnesota 7-3. Look at these. Most of these teams 6-4, 4-6, 5-5, 4-6. I mean, a lot of these teams are just very, very mid right now in the Western Conference. At least some of the teams that the Lakers are chasing in the standings. So next game, Tuesday night, 7:30, Lakers and the Pelicans. And then after that, you're going to start getting some good games. I know they got a road game against Denver, then a second of a back-to-back at home against the Pacers. That might just be tough because they play at Denver and then come home, on that same night to play the Pacers the next night. And then I know a home game against the New York Knicks coming up on Sunday. So and then a couple against the Rockets. Like they're going to have some games here where we're going to find out a lot more about the Lake Show. I think that's the overall theme for me right now. Overall theme for me is get wins when you can, get wins when you're supposed to. But the truth is, and the reality is, everyone's just kind of waiting to see what you're going to be when you start going up against some elite competition. That's all. That's I think at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters now. Because even if they got the number 4 seed in the Western Conference, I'm making this up, right? And they got the number 4 seed because they were just beating up on bad teams. Still, nobody's going to really take them seriously. But if you got the number 4 seed because you had a win against Houston and a win against Denver and a win against Minnesota and a couple of tough road wins, well, then you could start kind of changing your narrative there. So time's running out. I mean, that's the reality here. We got 6 weeks left in the regular season, and then it's playoff time. Shout out to Harris Resort SoCal, located in North San Diego, Palomar Mountains. Where you come from? Coming from LA, Orange County, San Diego, wherever in Southern California you're coming from. Really beautiful drive, pretty drive. Once you get off the freeway, you're basically taking roads the rest of the way. Citrus trees everywhere. The Palomar Mountains. It's one of those, you guys are accustomed to some of those drives where all of a sudden you could pull over on the road and you could start buying oranges, avocados, raw honey. It's when you know you're in a good part of town. But beautiful area, it really is. It's a nice area. It's a phenomenal resort. It's smart to, if you want a staycation or you want to go on a vacation, take the family somewhere, whatever the case is. Why get on a plane and pay for round trip tickets? And before you know there, you've already spent X amount of dollars and you haven't even landed yet in the city you're supposed to land to. Get in your car, Drive within 1 to 2 hours. Get down to Harris Resort, SoCal. Take advantage of we got a link on the description here where you can get 20% off by using our link. So in the description of the video on YouTube, click on that link. If I know some people watch this a little bit later, or maybe they're listening to the podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, whatever the case is. But make sure you use our link in the YouTube description and get 20% off when you book. All right. There are some restrictions that apply. So just a heads up on that one. Okay. Let's read last couple of comments. Then let's call it a weekend, and then we'll get ready for tomorrow's show. Let's see what we got here. We already know about the Lakers. They're fool's gold. I would say this. I would say that here's what we know about the Lakers. You cannot take them seriously until they start beating teams that will be in the postseason. So you can't just keep losing to teams that are above 500 when the whole playoffs are against not just teams above 500, but obviously well above 500. So that's what I would say. Knicks found the blueprint to beat the Spurs. I didn't get a chance to watch that game, so I don't know. I know they won by a comfortable margin, but you could tell me what that blueprint is. Let's see what they had here. A lot of players struggled. Fox only had 7. Their bench really didn't do anything. They shot 26% from the 3. I don't know if they found a blueprint or Knicks are also a good team. That could be a finals matchup. So, however you want to look at that one. All right, let's see what we got here. Wolves going to be a challenge. Ant's been cooking. Get ready, Slee. The Wolves next week at 8 p.m. We're doing 8 p.m. tip-off. What the F? Who's watching a game at 8? How do people do it on the East Coast? How do they do it on the East Coast? I don't understand that. I mean, I got so much respect for people on the East Coast. My question, by the way, Savage, thank you for the super, brother. I know you've been very, very kind with your supers here, and I appreciate you doing that. Question for you. How do you want AR to get his 20? People want AR to get 30 on 12 shots, play super defense, stay in the quarter, and not pay him. Here's how I want AR to get 20. By the way, 20 is not a high bar. I'm actually being I'm being very generous here with saying he's got to get at least 20 a night. He's got to get 15 shots off, right? I think something that AR was doing as well is he was super aggressive before getting to the free throw line. Here's my problem. One problem I got with AR. You can't keep hunting for fouls. You got to also go to the basket trying to score. And maybe if he makes that little adjustment instead of complaining to the referees and not getting a call or whatever the case is, or maybe the refs just aren't giving him the whistle, he's got to adjust as well. He's got the ability to clearly get to the basket, clearly get to the free throw line. He's a good enough shooter. 20 is not a high bar. That's not a high bar. And again, if he's obviously not going to be known for his defense. You got other players that are potent offensive players. He's got to stand out as well. It's the same. Imagine if Luka was under 20 points a game and didn't have the amount of assists that he had and rebounds and everything else. You would start asking yourself, like, yeah, but if you're going to have the ball in your hands, you're going to shoot this many shots, and you can't play defense. Certain players, there's a criteria that they have to meet. I mean, I don't think that's a very high bar. I think AR has well surpassed that bar of 20-plus points a game. But he's been struggling. I mean, he doesn't look like the same Austin Reaves as he did earlier in the season or before his injury. I think that's safe to say. And maybe that is the chemistry with Luka and LeBron. Maybe it is that. But if the Lakers are going to have success, they need that version of AR from earlier in the season. And I'm not even saying they're going to get to the – I'm saying if you want to get out of the first round, they need a much better version than AR. So I think that's safe to say. Hopefully that helps answer your question. And I appreciate the super here. Very, very much. All right, we got one or two more comments and then we're done. Let's see what we got here. More AR needs to be the sixth man. Let's see, you are being generous, but others want 25 and no less. I mean, here's what I do want. I want more assists from him. Because I do think he's a really good facilitator and a playmaker. And I think what's happening right now is he's kind of just getting out of the way of Luka. But he's got to kind of put his elbows out too and say, look, I deserve a seat at this at the table as well. And then it's going to be up to. And by the way, if you're Luka and Luka and JJ Redick, you got to also make sure Austin Reaves is. This isn't a Deandre Ayton situation where he just shows up to work whenever he feels like it. AR shows up to work every single day. AR wants to succeed. All right, my people. I think we're done for the day. Actually surprised we got 41 minutes in. I got to be honest with you. Thought I was going to come on 11 minutes in and say, okay, Lakers over the Kings, 128-104. What more do you guys want? Back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Next Lakers game, Tuesday night at 7:30 against the Pelicans. I appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully everybody had a nice weekend. Saturday and Sunday, back-to-back wins for the Lakers. And one more potential layup here before they start playing some tougher teams. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Appreciate it.